At the start of the drama, we see the female lead, Lee, who is telling the audience, I have completed my graduation, and now I am going for an editor's job in a publishing house. Now here, she messages her online friend Fox. Then we see the drama's male lead, Chuan, who is entering a publishing house. Actually, he is Lee's online friend. But Lee and Chuan have never seen each other, so they don't even know about each other. Now Lee also comes to this publishing house for the job. Then a person here praises Chuan's dad's writing and publishing a lot in front of Chuan. But Chuan has nothing to do with his dad's publishing house. Now here, Chuan is given less money for his work, so he leaves from here. On the other side, editor Miss Yao of this house tells Lee, you are not selected for the interview. But still, Lee shows her resume to her, but Yao does not show much interest in that resume. Now later, Lee goes to a place to take a book, but she is not able to take that book down from the shelf. Now Chuan is also there who sees this thing. Now he also wants that same book, so he takes that book down, goes to the reception, and buys that book. This behavior seems very rude to Lee. Going outside, she messages Chuan and says, my day didn't go well today. A boy snatched my book, and I failed the interview. Just then, editor Yao calls Lee and summons her to the publishing house. So Lee immediately starts going there. Actually, Yao is calling Lee only so that she tells her, come and take your resume. Now when Lee comes to the publishing house, just then an editor of another company comes there to meet Yao. She says, we have to end this agreement right now. Now seeing this agreement, Lee says, there is still 1 year left for this. The agreement won't end right now. Hearing this, the editor of that company gets happy and gives her business card to Lee. Along with this, Yao also gives Lee a job as an intern in her company. So then, Lee happily tells this matter to her mom. But her mom is not very happy with this job because she tells her, I wanted you to study finance and work in a bank. Now, here where Lee works, the editor of that publishing house, Mr. Xia, comes. He tells everyone, you have to find a new author right now. So Lee suggests the name of an author named Chung. Then, Xia gives the responsibility to her and an editor of that publishing house, Niao, saying, bring the new author. Now then, Lee goes to Chung's house and calls him, but Chuan is at the house. He hides and sees Lee and chases her away. Chuan says, Chung is not here. Now Lee thinks Chuan is lying, so she comes again becoming a courier boy. Now Chung, thinking she is a courier boy, gives a response to Lee. But then he understands that she is not a courier boy, so he hands Lee over to security. Just then, the editor of a company named Xindin, Baiji, comes here, who gets Lee released. Actually, Baiji has also come to Chuan's house to get an agreement signed. But Chuan refuses because he thinks, I do not want to repeat the mistake made by Chung by working with Baiji. Now then, Lee also gives Chuan a proposal to write a book, but she says the amount is 40,000. So Chuan does not like this, and he closes the door on Lee's face. Anyway, then Lee tells her company's directors and head editors, increase the offer for Chuan, so that Chuan gets ready to work, but no one listens to her. Now Lee starts talking to her online friend Fox, who is actually Chuan. Now from Chuan, Lee finds out that Chuan has not gone to his hometown for many days. He likes the meatballs of his hometown. Now the next day, Lee sees Chuan on the way, but to hide from Lee, Chuan wears a mask. So Lee starts feeding meatballs to Chuan's dog. Now in a while, Lee starts convincing Chuan for the contract, but Chuan closes the door, due to which Lee gets hurt in her hand. So now Chuan brings Lee into his house. Here, Lee sees that Chuan's house is quite messy. Anyway, then Lee again starts convincing Chuan for the contract. She understands Chuan has no problem with money, but he wants to defeat his dad in the publishing sector. So Lee starts explaining to Chuan, with this work, you will be able to defeat your dad, and my job will be saved too. But Chuan does not care about these things. Now later, Lee is talking to her online friend Fox. She tells Fox, today, my experience with an author remained bad. And she also tells him, I have also met that author's dog. Now here Fox, meaning Chuan, is chatting with Lee. He finds Lee's experience similar to his experience. So now he checks the number given by Lee. Seeing which he understands, Lee is my online friend. He tells this to Chung. So Chung says, this is a good thing anyway. You two used to chat like you were a couple. Now Chuan tells Chung, do not tell this to anyone. Then later, Chuan tells Lee, I will sign the agreement, and he calls her to meet. But when Lee comes, then Chuan's stamps gets lost, so he is unable to sign the agreement. Now after this, the chief editor tells Lee, leave Chuan's work because he thinks, now I will handle this work. On the other side, the chief editor goes and tells editor Yao about Lee. She has not got even a single agreement signed by anyone. Now, according to the rules, if Lee is not able to get even a single agreement signed in the internship period, then she will be fired. So now, just then, Chuan comes to the company and gives his signed agreement and says, from now on, if there is any need, tell Lee to contact me directly. Now, seeing all this, Yao also gets happy. Later, Lee happily tells Chuan, you are my lifesaver. Now after this, the chief editor tells Lee, I will look after this project of Chuan. Now Lee does not like this thing, so she shares her issue with Fox. Fox tells her, you discuss this with Chuan. Now Lee stays up all night and readies a new script and shows it to the chief editor the next day, yet the chief editor says, you will not come into Chuan's work, only I and another employee Niao will look after this. Now Lee and Chuan meet in the office. Here Lee goes inside the office, and along with her, Chuan also goes inside from there. Both have gone inside the office for their different works. Actually, Chuan appoints Lee for himself so that Lee can work with him. Now when Lee finds out this matter, she gets very happy. Now when she is about to leave the office, then it is raining, and she sees that Chuan has left an umbrella for her. Actually, Lee has started appealing to Chuan, so Chuan is doing all this. Now later, Lee tells Chuan, I have reduced some pages from Chuan's draft because his draft was getting lengthy. So Chuan gets angry at that and says, I will not reduce more pages. But due to this anger, Chuan blocks her online. Now when Lee goes to message Chuan, she sees that she is blocked. Now Lee tells her issue to Chung, my online friend has blocked me. Then Chung also tells his problem to her, I am scared of doing something new. So Lee says, you should take this risk. Now moving forward, Chung is on the road where Baiji is also there. Now she gets distracted by a car's horn and falls, so Chung goes to her and rescues her. Now moving forward, Chung goes to Chuan's house, and here we find out that Chung and Baiji were in a relationship. Then, due to some big reason, both of them had a breakup. Now, after this, Chuan brings Lee home from the market. Here, he tells Lee, if we have to discuss something, we have to do it peacefully. Lee says, I don't have to discuss anything, I just have to do my normal assignment and submit it. Anyway, then Chuan tells Lee, stay at my home today to do the assignment. But Lee says, my dad is in the police, he will find out, I cannot share a room with you. Chuan says, I am not asking you to share the room, you can stay in my study and do the assignment. Then these two are checking books in the study. Now Lee wants to see a book, but she can't reach it. So Chuan goes to help her, and in all this, they come close to each other. Now later, Chuan goes to a little distance, becomes Stinky Fox, and sends a friend request to Lee online. Then Lee accepts his friend request. Now Stinky Fox says, I blocked you by mistake. Now while doing the assignment at night, Lee falls asleep. So Chuan comes to pick her up to put her on the bed, but she is so heavy that Chuan is unable to do so. Now then Chuan puts a blanket on Lee. Then he completes Lee's incomplete assignment. The next day when Lee sees her assignment, she gets happy and says, thank you to Chuan. Chuan says, you know, you are so heavy that I couldn't even pick you up. Anyway, then Lee submits her assignment to Miss Yao. Then, Yao gives her a new task where Lee has to find a writer and get new work done by them. Now Lee requests Chuan to write, but publishing houses sometimes give writers so little money that it becomes difficult to find a good writer. Now at such a low price, Chuan does not write a single word, so he refuses Lee. Then he becomes Fox and talks to Lee online. He tells Lee, you explain to Chuan with a little love. Lee does the same, but Chuan refuses to be irritated. Now after this, when Lee is working, just then Chuan tells her, in the salary you get, you don't have to do hard work but smart work. Now later, the head editor comes to meet Yao. He says, Chung has betrayed us. The draft he wrote for our magazine is actually advertising his next book. Lee must have known this and taken commission for this. Now the head editor tells Yao, so now you have to get an agreement signed by Chung to write a new book. So Lee takes this responsibility because all this has happened because of her mistake. Now from Chung's status, Lee finds out that he and Chuan are relaxing in a swimming pool. Now, Lee comes to meet Chuan. Then Chuan thinks, maybe Lee must be crying a lot because Chung has betrayed her. But Lee says, this is a test for me, I have to do well in this test. Now just then Chung arrives there. Now Chung is Lee's idol, but Lee did not know that Chung is Chuan's friend. Now seeing Chung, she gets very happy. Then Chuan tells Lee, you stay in this hotel because you have come from so far. You also have the right to experience a vacation. After this, Lee goes to the hot spring and messages Fox, I met my idol today. I felt very good meeting him. Seeing this, Chuan gets jealous, and he also comes to the hot spring with Lee. Now later, Chung finds out that Lee focuses on Chung's creativity too, and not just focuses on his productivity. So Chung happily signs the contract with Lee. Now Lee works very hard for Chung's book. One day, Chung falls asleep, so Lee leaves papers in front of his door and leaves. Now seeing Lee working so hard, Chung feels good. After this, Lee goes to her office, where the chief editor gets angry at her because Lee has signed a form in which there are some mistakes. Miss Yao will deduct salaries of her, along with other employees due to this because some other employees also did not check this form properly. So the mistake is everyone's. Now Lee's salary is 3,800 yuan. Yao will deduct 1,000 yuan from this. Then Lee goes to her house, and this is a rented house. The landlady here says, "My daughter is getting married, so you will have to pay 500 yuan more for house rent right now." Lee thinks, how much will I be able to save from the salary? And how will I pay the house rent? So she calls her dad for money, but her dad says, "Your mom has taken all my money." So then Lee is unable to tell her dad about her problems, and then she starts looking for a new house. Later, Lee talks to Chuan on the phone where Chuan says, "Right now I'm in the hospital, so I'll talk later." Hearing the name of the hospital, Lee gets scared. She immediately books an expensive taxi and goes to see Chuan. Now nothing has happened to Chuan. He has come to the hospital for his dog. Actually, his dog has fought with another dog, due to which he got hurt. Now Lee has worn the wrong shoes in a hurry, so while coming running, she falls on Chuan. Later, Lee tells Chuan, "How I am stuck and how I don't even have money to pay rent." So to calm Lee down, Chuan agrees to work with Miss Cocoon. On the other side, Baiji asks Chung, "Why did you get ready to work with a newcomer like Lee?" On this, Chung says, "She is a newcomer, but she respects a writer's decision. She respects a writer's creativity. So instead of working with a greedy worker, I would prefer to work with a genuine newcomer." On that side, Chuan's dad tells him, "Take the dog and go home quickly." But Chuan talks rudely with his dad, and Lee also notices this thing. Then in conversation, Lee understands that actually Chuan likes to live alone, so his nature is like this. He is not rude. Then, for Lee's condition, Chuan tells her, "Stay at my house." Anyway, then later Lee goes to Miss Cocoon with the work proposal. Cocoon agrees but says, "I want to meet Chuan once." Now Chuan hates Miss Cocoon because Cocoon gets very cheesy with Chuan. Now later Lee comes to live at Chuan's house, so Chuan gives her a big list. In this list there are some points like Lee cannot misbehave with Chuan, and she cannot spread Chuan's private photos. Anyway, then Chuan tells Lee, "Today's moon is beautiful." So Lee comes home and asks Fox about this. So Fox says, when a boy says to a girl that the moon is beautiful today, it means he likes that girl. Or it could also be that the moon is actually looking beautiful. Now later Chuan tells Lee, "I have received a friend request from Cocoon." On this, Lee gets angry and says, "She just wants to come close to you, but you should stay away from her and only talk to her about your novel." Here jealousy is clearly visible on Lee's face. Now later Lee calls Chuan and says, "Cocoon is not replying to my message. You message her directly so that she finishes her work quickly and gives it." Then Chuan does exactly this, so Cocoon sends her draft to Lee. Lee sees that Cocoon has still not done the work properly, so she goes to meet Cocoon personally. She tells Cocoon, "If you didn't do the work properly, the contract will be taken from you and compensation will also be asked from you." Hearing this, Cocoon gets angry. After this, we see Lee goes to take a bath, then her shower pipe breaks. She calls the plumber. Just then, Chuan comes into the house. Then he asks Lee, "Why are you roaming around the whole house wearing towel like this?" Anyway, then later, Lee tells her senior in the office, "Keep some changes in the book." So her senior accepts this suggestion. Then Lee goes to meet Cocoon. So Cocoon thinks Lee has come to request her again. That is why Cocoon behaves rudely with Lee. But then Lee has come to give her the termination letter. Now seeing this, Cocoon gets scared. Over there in the office, Lee's senior Mr. Xia praises Lee for Lee's work. After this, we see Lee outside Chuan's door. Chuan is not opening the door, so Lee creates smoke in front of his door. Then, when the door opens, Lee falls on Chuan by mistake. Anyway, then after this, Chuan's mood is not right, so Lee says, "I will get you dinner." Then these two go out where Lee tells Chuan, "With your upcoming novel, you will prove to your dad that you are a good writer." After this, both are eating ice cream, and by mistake, both take a bite together in the same ice cream. After this, 2 tickets are offered from Lee's company for editors and their writers. These movie tickets will strengthen the relationship between editors and writers. Now Lee tells Chuan that she will give these tickets to Chung and Chuan, and she herself will buy a ticket and go with them. Now these 3 go for lunch where Chung and Chuan are competing with each other. Chuan tells Chung, "Why have you come dressed up like a teenager?" So Chung tells Chuan, "Why have you come wearing a suit like this? As if you have to walk on the red carpet right now." Now later one day, Chuan takes Lee to a garden, and it is said, going to that garden strengthens the relationship between the couple. But Chuan tells Lee, I did not know about this thing about the garden. Just then, Cocoon sees these two secretly and clicks a photo of these two. Later, Lee works in the office the whole night and does not return home. So Chuan messages Lee a lot so that she comes home. Now later, Lee finds out from the senior staffs of the office that Miss Cocoon has posted her and Chuan's garden photo on social media. Now it is clarified from Lee and Chuan's side that there is only an editor-writer relation between those two. So later, Miss Cocoon has to apologize for her work. Anyway, then everyone in the company is very happy because the pre-sale rate of the new book has increased a lot. Now at home also, Lee and Chuan see that the pre-sale of their book keeps increasing. So happily, both hug each other. Now just then Chung arrives at the house, so Lee hides in Chuan's room. Now at night, Chuan and Chung get very drunk. Next morning when Lee wakes up from sleep, she sees Chuan is sleeping near her, and he has held Lee thinking she is his dog. Now in the morning, Chung sees Lee and asks, why is Lee here? Now after this, Chuan tells Chung truthfully, I am just Lee's landlord. So now Chang is happy that Chuan and Lee are not in a relationship, and then he proposes to Lee. Now Chuan does not like all this, so he takes Chung out of the house. Here Lee sees that the sale of her book has reached 350,000, but actually the sale of her book has been even more. But the chief editor wants to get ahead of Lee, so planning this, he has changed the data of Lee's sale rate. Now later Lee and Chuan are drinking. Here Lee drinks too much, so Chuan takes the drink from her hand. And then in all this, both come quite close as if they are about to kiss. Then, next morning when Lee wakes up from sleep, she remembers the kiss. Now Lee goes to the kitchen and sees Chuan is quite happy. So Lee thinks, did something happen between us last night? Now then Chuan also says, I am ready to take your responsibility. So hearing this, Lee gets scared and goes to the office. Later, Chuan waits for Lee at home. Now Lee knowingly messages Chuan, I will not come home tonight. But Lee is just outside the door. So Chuan goes close to Lee and says, if you need help in anything, I will do it. Especially after last night, I will definitely do it. Now later, we see a girl named Heng, who is not very famous. This girl is an author who has disappeared just after writing one book. Now the chief editor of Lee's company tells Heng, change your genre and write. So Lee tells Chuan, Heng has an issue. Chuan says Heng shouldn't compromise by changing her genre. Now then later, Chuan sends a draft to Lee which matches the draft pattern sent by Stinky Fox. Lee gets suspicious of Chuan, and she messages Stinky Fox, I have hurt my ankle. Chuan quickly comes to see Lee. Now then he remembers that Stinky Fox received this message, so he tells Lee, I have come to see your shoes. Now later it is raining, so upon Lee's work finishing, Chuan comes to pick up Lee, but he sees that Chung has already come to pick up Lee. Now, Lee notices Chuan. Going home, she says to Chuan, do you like me? That you are taking so much care of me. But then Chuan compares Lee to his dog, that just as he takes care of his dog, in the same way he is taking care of Lee too. Hearing this, Lee gets annoyed. Later we see Bai Ji. She sees a book where a leaf is kept. Actually, Chung gave this leaf to Bai Ji while proposing. Bai Ji now tells a friend of hers, Yunfei, I will not be able to move on from Chung. Actually, Yunfei likes Bai Ji, and Bai Ji and Chung were in a relationship in the past, but Bai Ji has not been able to move on from Chung yet. Now after this, Lee asks Chuan, are you Stinky Fox? Now Chuan says, if you feel so, then you call Stinky Fox. With this, you will know the truth. Then, Lee goes to call Stinky Fox. So Chuan gets scared, because upon calling Stinky Fox, his phone will ring. But just then, she stops and says, I don't want to take stress in doing all this. Later, Lee's office directors want to fire Heng because she is not that popular. But Miss Yao requests Mr. Xia and keeps Heng in the office. But Mr. Xia says, there is no editor for Heng. On this, Lee gets ready to become Heng's editor and says, I will do my work properly and will not let anyone down. Now later, Ching tells Chuan, Lee likes Stinky Fox. Hearing this, Chuan gets very happy. Here, Lee speaks in the office and organizes an event for Heng. After this, everyone comes to that event. Many fans of Heng also come. Here, Heng gives a small speech and says thanks to Lee for this event, and also says, I will not give up now. Anyway, then Lee is ready to go to the movie because Ching has asked her to go to the movie. Now Chuan finds out this matter, so he also books tickets with Bai Zhe and goes into the movie hall. Here he has booked the seats near Chung and Lee. So here a fight starts between Chung and Chuan on this matter, that who will sit in the center near Lee. At last, Chung has to give up and sit near Bai Ji. and Chuan sits near Lee. Lee is also happy with this. Upon the movie ending, everyone comes out of the hall. Actually, this movie was about some online friends who have never seen each other. So here it slips out of Chung's mouth. Lee also knows Stinky Fox for 3 years, but she never met him. Hearing this, Lee is surprised because she never told Chung that she knows Stinky Fox for 3 years. After this, Chung wants to drop Lee home, but Chuan wants to take this responsibility. Then in Chung's car, a favorite song of Bai Ji plays, which Chung turns off because he doesn't want to remember any memory related to Bai Ji. Anyway, then taking an idea from the profit motive arrangement of Bai Ji's company, Lee also understands that she will have to hire cosplay actors in her company too, because Bai Ji's company has brought profit like this. So Lee shares this idea with Mr. Liang, but Liang does not pay attention to her words. But then Chuan comes into the office meeting and takes preparations about working on this idea. Now after this, the chief editor calls Lee and tells her, "Stop, Chuan." But Chuan takes that phone from Lee's hand. Then he himself goes to meet the chief editor. But here the chief editor offers food to Chuan. So these people start eating, and over there, Chuan's fans keep waiting for Chuan. But by then, it has become late, so the staff start removing those fans. And seeing this, Lee quickly comes and starts apologizing to the fans. Seeing all this, Chuan does not feel good at all. Later, Lee asks Chuan, "Will you sign the contract with Bai Ji now? If you do so, I will respect your decision. You are an author, so you will do whatever you want for yourself." Hearing this, Chuan also gets happy. Then Lee comes and tells everyone, "Chuan will not work with you now." So everyone tells her, "Convince Chuan." But Lee says that she will not do so. But she also says, "I respect Chuan's decision as an author, but I have convinced him to work on the Moonlight book." Later, Lee is very drunk, and Chuan finds out this matter. So now Chuan goes to pick Lee. Right here, snowfall starts happening. So Lee gets very happy and kisses Chuan. Next day, Lee is in the office where editor Yao tells her, "You and your colleague have got leave for New Year." Hearing this, Lee and her colleague get happy. Now, after this, Lee is about to go to her home, so she reaches the airport. Chuan has come with her to drop her till here, so he asks Chuan, "Do you have to say something?" So Chuan says, "Don't drink too much." Then Lee reaches her home too. Here, Lee's mom tells her to go on a blind date. Lee does not agree. So her mom says, "Do you have a boyfriend in Shanghai somewhere?" So hearing this, Lee agrees for the date. Now then, Lee and Chuan both wait for each other's call. Then at the right time, both call each other and wish New Year. Now next day, Lee tells her mom, "I will not go on the blind date." Actually, she is doing all this for Chuan, but Lee's mom forces Lee to go. Now here, Chung sees Lee's post and tells Chuan, "Lee is going somewhere getting ready. She is definitely going on a blind date." Now Chuan also reaches there and sees Lee has gone there with someone, but she is sitting in a weird appearance in front of that person. Actually, Lee wants to show herself as ugly in front of that blind date. Now Chuan comes here and starts talking to Lee as a waiter. Over there, Bai Ji starts fainting outside her house. Now the delivery boy sees her fainting and admits her to the hospital. Now Chung's name is on Bai Ji's emergency number, so the doctor calls him. And then Cheng comes to take care of Bai Ji. Then Bai Ji returns home. And then she tells Cheng, "There is no need for you to do so much for Bai Ji." So Cheng says, "You used to live in the same house with me before too. So what is the problem now?" Hearing this, Bai Ji starts smiling. Over there, Chuan writes a lot about Lee on social media without taking her name. Reading this post, Lee understands that this has been written about her only. She gets very happy. Then she asks Chuan, "Is this post about me?" Chuan says, "Yes." Then being shy, he enters his room. Now from outside, Lee messages Chuan, "Are you regretting after confessing?" Reading this, Chuan opens the door. Lee comes inside and Chuan kisses her. Then he says, "This is the first time that I am liking someone and I am not regretting it at all." Anyway, then later Yao tells Lee, "Now it is your responsibility to promote Chuan's book because his previous 2 books have flopped." Now after this, we see Chuan has joined Lee's office because he wants to stay around Lee. Now at lunchtime, he tells the others, "I will have lunch with my girlfriend." Now no one knows who Chuan's girlfriend is. So Chuan says, "I don't know much about the publishing house's surroundings." So giving this excuse, he takes Lee from there. Later, Lee has to go meet a person named Mr. Liu regarding work. So she sits in the car with Bai Ji and goes to meet Liu. But on the way, the car breaks down, which Bai Ji and Lee fix together. At night, leaving from the office, Niao asks Chuan for a lift, but Chuan refuses her and leaves taking Lee. Due to this, Lee gets happy because Chuan is considering her his priority, but Niao gets very jealous of this matter. Now later, Yao tells Lee, "Chung's book hype has increased. The demand for his book in the market has increased." Lee tells this matter to Cheng and says, "Behind all this is Bai Ji's effort, but she doesn't want to tell you about her effort." Hearing this, Cheng gets upset. He goes to meet Bai Ji. Then giving her a rose, he says, "When we were in a relationship, I couldn't give you a rose last Valentine's Day. So now I am giving you a rose because I promised that one day I will definitely give you a rose. Now here Chuan is about to gift a book to Lee, and he also thinks that with this very book, he will reveal to Lee that he is Stinky Fox. Now Lee sees this book. She gets a little upset. She thinks, why did Chuan spy about my feelings for so long? Now after this, she breaks up with Chuan, and now she is about to leave the house. Then Lee goes to the office and messages him, I will stay at my colleague's house. So that colleague says yes. Now after this, Chuan tells Lee to come home. So Lee messages him that she will stay at her colleague's house. Now Chuan tells this matter to Chung. So Chung drops her at Lee's colleague's house. Then Chuan, instead of saying sorry to her, tells her, you should come home. Because of you, my dog and I are not able to eat much. You shouldn't be so angry. Now, after returning home, Chuan realizes that he has said a bit too much. Conversely, he should have said sorry. Then Chung also goes and starts convincing Lee so that she forgives Chuan and starts living in Chuan's house again. Now later, Chuan brings Lee home. Then Lee sees a sorry letter here. Lie messages, Stinky Fox, I have forgiven Stinky Fox. Then in the morning, seeing Lee's dress, Chuan tells her, change the dress. Then Lee goes into the kitchen. Here Chuan comes and kisses her and says, I will always celebrate Valentine's Day with you and will always keep you happy. Anyway, then after this, Lee also hugs Chuan. Now, later, Chuan sends an article to Lee. Lee shows this article to her colleague Xiang too. Xiang understands that Lee is not giving much attention to Chuan, so Chuan is sending such articles to Lee. Anyway, then Lee messages Chuan, today I will have dinner with you. Seeing this, Chuan gets happy. He tells Chung, your relationship advice didn't work much. Conversely, if you need relationship advice, tell me. Then at dinner time, Chung is also with Chuan and Lee. Chuan and Lee are making food. Lee is busy with her book and tells Chung, sorry, I cannot come to the party with you. So Chuan says, you don't need to say sorry. Anyway, then after this, Chuan and Lee are alone and Chung is not here. Chuan tells Lee, we haven't even kissed recently, so how will our relationship last? Lee says, hey, we have just come into the relationship bubble, so how will we have a breakup? After this, these two go to kiss. On that side, we see Baiji and Chung, where Baiji asks Chung again and again, do you still see any future with Baiji or not? Anyway, then slowly Chung and Baiji start kissing each other, and along with this, Chung stays at Baiji's house this night. Next morning, when Baiji wakes up, she sees Chung has put a ring on her finger. Seeing this, Baiji gets very happy. Here, editor Yao is at her home. Now Yao's husband and her mother-in-law stay annoyed with her because she is not able to give time to them. That is why Yao's mood also remains off sometimes. Now recently, Yao has brought improvement in the company by putting in a lot of effort. So on this matter, Lee sends a message to her, thank you. After this, Chuan and Lee are both in the car. Here, Chuan asks for a kiss from Lee, but just then, Xiang gives this news to Lee. Something has gone wrong with Heng's book. Now actually what happened is that gifts were also supposed to reach customers along with Heng's book, but those gifts have not reached the customers. And this is the fault of the publishing and editing house only. So hearing this, Lee has to go to the office meeting immediately. From that side, Yao also has to go to the same meeting. Due to this reason, her husband fights with her again. When Yao reaches the office, then in the meeting, at the editor's behest, Mr. Liang talks about suspending Lee, and ultimately, he suspends Lee too. Just then, Chuan arrives there, and while speaking ill to the editor, takes Lee out from there. Then he starts calming Lee down. Now Yao explains to Liang, you are doing this by coming into the editor's words, but doing this will not be right for the company. Then Heng comes there, and she also finds out about Lee's condition. So then she also talks to the editor in Lee's support. Now later the chief editor tells Liang, do not hire Lee back. So now Liang gets suspicious, and he tells the chief editor, you are taking Lee a bit too personally. Now after this we see Chung who asks Baizhi, why did you tell me to make Liu the vice president? Why don't you tell me everything? So Baizhi says, it is not like what you are thinking. Now Chung does not believe Baiji's words, so Baiji opens the ring given by Chung and leaves. After this, Chung starts regretting and goes to talk to Baiji. But by then, Baiji has left. Now after this, we see Xiang who goes to Lee. She tells Lee about the office situation. She says, Liang is about to make a new column writer group. Here he will keep you as a head editor. Now later, we find out that some time ago, Chung had stopped trusting Baiji. Actually, he had misunderstood Baiji. He thought that Yunfei had copied his concept in his book, and Baiji helped Yunfei. But actually, there is nothing like that. Actually, Chung and Yunfei's drafts had become similar, and this carelessness was from Yunfei's side only. Now, when in the current time Chung finds out about Bai Ji's truth, he feels very bad. Now he asks Bai Ji, "Why did you never explain anything to me?" So Bai Ji says, "You didn't trust me before and you won't do it later too." Along with this, she also says, "I am tired of explaining to Chung." So now Chung asks Bai Ji for a second chance. Now after this, we see Lee and Chuan. Lee is showing her dresses to Chuan. Just then, Chuan's dad calls him. Then his dad says, "You will have to meet more. He is looking for a writer for his next film." Now Chuan does not like his dad much, so he is about to say no to this offer. But just then, Lee pushes Chuan to do this work. So then Chuan agrees. Now after this, Chuan goes to talk to Yao that he wants to make Lee only the editor of his next book. Now then Chuan goes to tell Cheng, "I have to meet Maurer." But he sees that Chung is sleeping. So he does video recording of Chung's face. Then he asks Chung, "Is something going on between you and Bai Ji or not?" Anyway, then he tells Chung, "You should work with Maurer because Bai Ji will be impressed by this." Now then we see Lee and Chuan in their house. They are noting down each point about Maurer. Then, before sleeping, Chuan notes down how he has to live with Lee on this trip of meeting Maurer. Later, Lee and Chuan go to a hotel where they see Cheng and Bai Ji too. Now here, Bai Ji did not want to come with Cheng, so Cheng also could not pre-book any room for Bai Ji. Now later, everyone sits for food. Here, Bai Ji does not like most of the dishes. So Chuan asks Bai Ji, "So what do you like?" Bai Ji names all those dishes which Chung does not like. Now to make Chuan and Lee uncomfortable, Bai Ji says, "If Chuan and Lee are a happy couple, why have they booked separate rooms?" Anyway, then later, Chuan and Lee spend some time going to their room. After this, Lee goes to take a bath, so Chuan goes out of the room with Chung so that he can distract himself from Lee. Now later when he returns to the room, then Lee says, "My periods have started." So then Chuan brings hot water for her and goes to take a bath. Then by the time he comes back to the room, Lee has slept. So putting a blanket on Lee, he also sleeps. Next day, Maurer gives very little time to Cheng and Chuan to write the script. Now later, Chuan sees that Lee has come to take water for herself. So Chuan picks her up and takes her to the bed and he gives her water. So Lee says, "You rest. With this you will get time to think about the book's idea." Now next day, Chung and Chuan sit to write the book. Here Chuan is disturbing Chung with his leg. Anyway, then Maurer's assistant comes and invites everyone to have dinner with Maurer. Now later, everyone sits with Maurer. Now Maurer tells the writers, "Write like my idea." But Chuan refuses. So Maurer starts leaving from there. On this matter, Lee apologizes to him and says, "By the way, a writer should get the freedom to write like himself." Now later, everyone returns home. Over there, we see Yao, who is busy on a call regarding work. Just then, her son asks her for water, but she is busy on the call, so by mistake, her son's glass falls from her. Now, her husband sees this thing, and then, sending his son to another room, he himself starts fighting with Yao. He tells her, "You have always prioritized your work. I want a divorce from you." On this matter, Yao feels that her husband has an affair going on, so her husband says, "You always put the blame on others." Now after this, we see Chuan goes to meet a celebrity regarding work. The name of this celebrity is Shi. After the talk between Shi and Chuan, Shi tells her assistant in private, "I like Chuan from a long time ago." Hearing this, the assistant says, "He might have a partner." So she says, "I am ready to take her place too." Here we see Chuan and Lee, where Chuan has held Lee's hand. He says, "You will never leave me, right?" Hearing this, Lee also sleeps near him. Now later we see Chuan's dad, who does not talk to Chuan properly, but he only has made a special pen for Chuan. Actually, he does not want to show in front of Chuan how much he loves Chuan. Now later Chuan goes and says this in front of Yao, "I and Lee are a couple." Hearing this, Yao gets happy. Now because Shi and Chuan are about to collaborate, so Shi's assistant fixes a meeting of Shi with Chuan. Now Chuan takes Chung with him because he alone won't be able to handle Shi. Now here someone secretly takes a photo of Shi and Chuan. Then, when Chuan is with Lee, someone posts this photo in such a way that seeing it, it looks like these two are dating. Now after all this, Chuan asks Lee, "Are you not jealous of Shi?" So Lee says, "I am very confident about you." Now after this, Shi calls Chuan and invites him for dinner. Lee tells Chuan, "Say yes." But Chuan cuts Shi's call because he has no interest in going to this dinner. Now later we see Bai Ji and Chung too. These two are sitting on a bench. Here Chung is returning a watch to Bai Ji. So Bai Ji says, "You can keep this watch with you." Actually, Miss Liu gave this watch to Cheng. So Bai Ji says, "Miss Liu gave you this watch. You are its owner." But Chung says, "If you become its owner, only then will I be able to take this watch from you." Actually, Chung is the owner of this watch. Now if Bai Ji considers herself the owner of this watch, then both will come to the same position. So in this way, Chung is indicating that Bai Ji should make a new starting with him. Anyway, then over there, Miss Yao's husband has admitted Miss Yao's son into a new school so that he can keep his son away from Miss Yao. Heng finds out this matter, so she suggests a lawyer to Yao. This lawyer is actually Heng's client only. Here she has a meeting with Chuan and Li. Here Li introduces herself saying, "I am Chuan's editor," but she feels that these two are a couple. So she tells her assistant, keep an eye on those two. Anyway, then she finds out that Li and Chuan are a couple, and she decides that she will take Li's place in some way. Later, a competition is decided between Qing and Chuan. Then the competition also starts where both are climbing a mountain. Li and Baiji are also with these two. While walking, Li gets tired and she tells Chuan, "You go, I will rest a bit." But Chuan stays with her and is walking, taking her with him. Everyone reaches the mountain, and a fight starts among these people on this matter whether Chuan reached first or Chung reached first. Later, Chung and Chuan start fishing. These two sit like professionals, as if they are going to get many fishes, but actually, they don't get even a single fish. Now in a while, a fisherman is going from nearby who has caught many fishes, so these two buy some fishes from him only. At night, Li tells Chuan, "Coming here, I am feeling tension-free." And then in conversation, these two kiss each other. Now later, Baiji receives a call where she finds out that Miss Liu's health is critical, and then she also dies. So Baiji starts crying a lot, because Miss Liu is her maternal figure. So, seeing this, Li and Chuan also worry about their parents. Here Miss Yao is with her lawyer. And also according to the court, Yao only will get her son's custody. Now Yao's husband gets scared, because now his wife is about to take him to court. Now after this in the office, Miss Yao calls Li and the head editor. She tells the head editor, "Your author has been rejected from the upcoming TV show. Chuan has been selected in his place." Hearing this, the head editor gets angry. He says, "Chuan is talentless." So then taking Chuan's side, Li says, "Chuan has got success because of his own effort." Anyway, then she calls Li and calls her for a meeting. Over there, Chuan is with Chung. Chung calls Baiji, but Baiji cuts his call. Chuan says, "Baiji is behaving like this since returning from Miss Liu's funeral." Now later, Chung meets Baiji, and he says, "You should move on from Miss Liu. Miss Liu will also not be happy seeing you sad like this, and I will always support you." Anyway, then after this, Chuan enters a room and sees she and Li are in that room. Now she has become very drunk, so Li goes to call the driver, and while going she tells Chuan, "Keep an eye on she." After this, she regains consciousness, and she tells Chuan, "I like you." Hearing this, Chuan starts leaving from there. So she says, "If you are rejecting me, then you are doing very wrong. My fan following is very huge. I will tell them about your and Li's relationship. With this, your image will be spoiled." So Chuan says, "Without fear, I will also expose you on social media." Now at night, Chuan tells all these things to Li, and Li also tells him, "Tomorrow you have to go to give an interview." Now in the interview, Chuan does not answer the interviewer's questions properly. The interviewer asks some questions like, "Have you written books getting inspired by your dad?" Now Chuan does not answer these questions properly, so when this show airs, the audience starts hating Chuan. Actually, this is a rumor that Chuan has a ghostwriter, and people think that his ghostwriter is his dad. Here Mr. Liang thinks about throwing Chuan and Li out of the office, because so much has happened because of those two only. On top of that, people think that Chuan's editor has got two good writers as soon as she came. That is why she is also keeping quiet about Chuan's ghostwriter issue. And secretly, she has taken advantage of this whole thing. Now, Li's mom calls her and talks to her on the phone because Li's parents are worrying about her. On top of that, Li's mom also motivates her to stay strong. Anyway, then over there, the head editor is about to leave the company, so Li goes to him. Now the head editor tells Li, "I do not like you and Chuan at all." Anyway, then, after this, Niao is also about to leave the company. Seeing this, Li explains to her and says, "You don't think only about yourself. You think about the company too, after all. You have signed a bond with this company." So Niao terminates the decision of leaving the company. After this, these two together tell different writers not to terminate the contract with this company. Some writers reject them, but some even agree to their words, and these two also stay engaged in their work. Over there, Chuan's dad explains to Chuan, "Look, your image will not be spoiled. Whatever you have done right." Just then, Chuan's dad's given interview comes on TV where he says everything in Chuan's support. Now Chuan's dad leaves the room at this time because he never wants to show in front of his son that he supports Chuan so much. Now after Chuan's dad leaves, Chuan's mom tells Chuan, "From the day the rumor about you had spread, from that day, your dad has set this interview by using his contacts." Now Chuan thinks that after this interview, fans will make good comments about him, but it does not happen so. Conversely, people troll his dad too, along with Chuan. Now here, the head editor has joined another company. Now in that company, the editor's boss gets angry at the editor because the editor had said that he will bring other writers too with him from his company. But his boss finds out that no writer is ready to leave the previous company. Here, Bai Ji and Cheng get tired talking all night, and Bai Ji sleeps in the library itself. Then Cheng puts a jacket on her. After a while, Cheng makes a post in Chuan's support. So Bai Ji also shares that post. Then Cheng goes to drink. So Bai Ji stops him from drinking too much. Cheng says, "Earlier when you used to stop me from drinking too much, I used to find this thing irritating, but now I like this thing." Here Lee calls Chuan and tells him, "Remain calm." Chuan's mom hears these two talking. She happily tells Chuan's dad, "Maybe Chuan has a girlfriend." Chuan's dad gets shocked and says, "I hadn't thought that such a childish boy would also have a girlfriend." Now after this, Chuan comes and tells Lee, "I want to introduce you to my parents." Then, Chuan and Lee have dinner with Chuan's parents. Now to calm Chuan down, Lee kicks him in the leg. In the same way, Chuan's mom also kicks Chuan's dad in the leg. Now Chuan's parents like Lee a lot because only due to her Chuan is able to stay so happy. Chuan's dad says thank you to Lee because only due to her Chuan has been nominated for an award. Now after dinner, Lee goes to see Chuan's room. She searches for journals in that room, so Chuan pulls her towards him and asks, "When I am in front, why do you need a journal?" Then Chuan kisses Lee. Now later, Chuan is researching about a girl. Actually, this girl was his classmate. Now Chuan somehow gets Xi's assistant's number. So when Chuan talks to that assistant, he finds out that the girl he is looking for is Xi. Actually, Xi used to be fat and ugly in childhood. That is why all students used to bully her. Then Xi worked on herself and now she has become an actress. So now Chuan and Lee come to meet Xi. Here Xi tells Chuan that in childhood when all students used to bully her, then only Chuan was there who did not judge Xi on the basis of her looks. That is why in childhood only Xi had decided, "I will tell Chuan about my feelings." Anyway, then when other students found out about this matter, then all of them bullied Xi. So Xi felt Chuan also gives importance to looks like everyone else. That is why she thought about working on herself at that time only so that one day she can live with Chuan. The scene comes to current time where Chuan understands Xi's words. He says, "I was just helping you." Then he also rubs the heart drawn by Xi from the whiteboard. Now Xi says, "If you didn't get into a relationship with me, I will not give you the exam paper." But Chuan starts leaving from there, so Xi throws a duster at him due to which Chuan gets hurt. So Chuan says, "There is no difference between you and those bullies." He says so because those bullies and Xi both hurt other people. Anyway, then after this, Chuan's parents and Lee together make a plan that they will now prove Chuan innocent. Chuan says, "I will bring my major works in front of the audience." Then Chuan starts working on this thing. Now, at the time of the interview, again the interviewer asks trolling questions to Chuan. Chuan does not answer these questions properly, but then he tells fans about his major works and says, "I want the fans' support." Then he also speaks about Cheng, Bai Ji, and his parents, that how these people have supported him, and also says, "Lee is not just my girlfriend, but she is also a good editor." Now after the interview, Chuan asks Lee, "How did we bring the test paper?" So Lee says, "I met Xi once again. I told her that even though other students bullied her that day, but you took her stand." Then Lee explains to Xi, "If you admire Chuan, you wouldn't want his face loss." So then Xi agrees to give the test paper to Lee. Then Lee tells this to Chuan, and Chuan picks Lee up on his back. Then he says, "When we will have grandchildren, then I would want to live even more and support my family." Lee says, "You are thinking too much. Till now it is not even known whether my parents will agree to this marriage or not." So Chuan says, "If they don't agree, then you will have to cry in front of them and say that you only love me." Now later in Bai Ji's company, her boss tells her, "We cut small writers' money. Only then are we able to give big writers their deserving money." Now hearing this, Bai Ji feels bad, and she speaks, "I am resigning." Along with this, she says, "I will expose you too." Here Miss Yao speaks, "I will promote Lee to the post of deputy editor." Hearing this, Lee gets quite happy. Then she gives this good news to Chuan too, hearing which Chuan also gets happy. Then these two start spending some time together, and Chuan kisses Lee. Just then, Lee's parents come there and see those two kissing. Then Lee's mom asks Lee, "How does that boy take care of you?" So Lee says, "To fix my mood, he even picks me up on his back, and he has decorated my room too." Here, Lee's dad talks to Chuan. He asks Chuan, "You know how to drink properly, right?" Chuan says, "Yes." Then after dinner, Chuan and Lee's dad drink too much in order to give respect to each other. Now later, Lee tells Chuan, "I am scared that my parents might reject you because you don't have any stable job." On that side, Bai Ji comes to meet her colleagues for the last time after resigning. Now here, her boss tells her, "If you ever regretted, you can come back." Now then slowly other staffs also start resigning from here because those people are going to work with Bai Ji. And seeing this thing, Bai Ji's boss gets surprised. Now moving forward, Baiju tells Chung about her resignation. Chung says, "Don't worry, you are a deserving director. You will get a job anywhere." So Baiji says, "I want to start my business now." So Chung says that Baiji can start work from Chung's bookstore, and Baiji also likes this offer. Here Mr. Liang comes to Lee and says, "You have to get this contract signed by Chuan." Now Lee does not pay much attention to this matter. After this, Chuan is at home and watches the video of his dad receiving the award. Just then, Lee comes there and says, "Now you should be happy that you have received an award." Then Liang comes there and tells Lee and Chuan to sign the contract. But they trouble Liang a lot, so Liang leaves from there. Now later, Chuan and Lee go to the award show. Baiji and Chung also go with them. Everyone waits for Chuan's name to be announced. Then when Chuan's name is announced, then his dad comes to give him the award. Actually, all this was his dad's plan, only that he himself will give the award to Chuan with his own hands. He also praises Chuan a lot here. After this, he tells Chuan, "I want to keep a meeting to talk about marriage with Lee's parents." Then Chuan goes back near his seat and kisses Lee. Then when everyone returns home, then Chuan starts kissing Lee once more. Next day, Lee is making breakfast for Chuan and playing with his pet dog. Seeing this, Chuan feels like marrying. Over there, Chung also feels like marrying Bai Zhi now. Anyway, then here Mr. Liang again tells Lee about the contract. Actually, Liang had cast out Chuan and shared a post against him. That is why Lee is taking revenge for that matter from Liang. She says, "Look, first of all, you will have to delete that post and clear everything in front of everyone." So Mr. Liang agrees. Here Mr. Sha's farewell program is going on. Here everyone gets a little emotional. Chuan even gives his award to Mr. Sha because Mr. Sha is the most well-deserving worker. Now after this, Baiji has also started her startup in Chung's bookstore. Chung is smiling seeing her from afar. Then Chung and Chuan both discuss how they will propose to their respective girlfriends. Both come forward with one or two plans, but then both find their plans to be flop plans. Now Chung tells Chuan, "I was serious about Baiju before too, so I have already bought a ring for her. Have you bought a ring for Lee?" Hearing this, Chuan immediately goes to buy a ring. On that side, Chung takes Baiju to a place where both used to come before. Actually, here Chung is about to propose to Baiji. Now over there, Chuan ties the ring brought for Lee on his dog's neck to propose to Lee. His plan is just this, that his dog will bring that ring to Lee. But nothing like this happens, and his dog even loses his ring, which Chuan later finds under his sofa. After this, Lee goes to her office for the New Year party. Now at night, everyone is about to celebrate New Year, and just then Chuan proposes to Lee with the ring. Over there, Hung tells the head editor, "You know, what is the difference between you and Lee? Lee looks at a writer's talent and you just look at money. A writer's creativity should also be respected." Then we see Heng telling Yao to marry. So Yao says, "Even though I live alone, I love my work very much, and right now the new publishing house needs me." Now the scene shifts to 2 years later, where Lee and Chuan also have a daughter, and Lee has now become chief from editor. She has experienced the journey of becoming chief from an intern. Along with this, Yao has also become director now. Now Lee takes a break from her office and goes for a picnic with her family. After this, Chuan and Lee sit together and look at a book which a writer named Ghost has written on their story, and the name of this book is Moonlight. And with this, the happy ending of this drama happens.